Imagine waking up to the gentle warmth of the Mediterranean sun filtering through your window. You can hear the rhythmic clatter of sandals on ancient cobblestones, the distant, steady clang of a blacksmith's hammer, and the lively chatter of merchants in the forum already haggling over the price of wine and olives. You smell the rich aroma of fresh bread from the bakery down the street, mingling with the salty air carried in from the Bay of Naples. You live in a paradise, a vibrant Roman city nestled at the foot of a lush, green mountain. Life is good, predictable, and safe. You believe you have all the time in the world. This was the reality for 20,000 people in Pompeii on the morning of August 23, 79 AD. They felt safe. They felt secure. But they were tragically wrong. Their paradise was a ticking time bomb, and the mountain they called a friend, a gentle giant that gave them fertile soil and fine wine, was about to become their executioner. The story isn't just that a volcano erupted, it's that the mountain screamed its warnings for days, perhaps weeks, and they chose not to listen. In these next minutes, we will not just recount a disaster, we will relive the final tense hours through the eyes of those who were there, and uncover the sequence of eerie signs that, had they been understood, could have saved thousands. What was the final, terrifying omen that sealed their fate just hours before the end? Stay with us. The answer is more chilling than you think. The popular image of Pompeii is one of instant annihilation, a sudden, unexpected cataclysm that rained down from a clear blue sky, freezing a bustling city in a single, tragic moment. But this is a dangerously simple myth. The destruction of Pompeii was not a single event, but the horrifying climax of a slow-burning fuse. The ground had been shaking for years. A massive earthquake 17 years prior, in 62 AD, had served as a violent dress rehearsal. That quake was so devastating that it leveled temples, shattered villas, and sent the Roman Senate into a debate about whether to abandon the city entirely. But the people of Pompeii were resilient. They chose to stay and rebuild. For 17 years, the sounds of construction were the city's heartbeat. Mosaics were painstakingly replaced, walls were replastered, and columns were re-erected. This long, arduous process had a profound psychological effect. It normalized crisis. They had survived the worst, they believed. They saw the constant, minor tremors that followed not as a prelude to something greater, but as the aftershocks of a battle already won. The real story isn't about their ignorance, but about a deep, tragically human denial, born from a disaster they thought they had already overcome. To understand their choices, we must understand their world. In 79 AD, Pompeii was a jewel of the Roman Empire. It was a bustling commercial hub and a favorite holiday destination for Rome's elite, who built sprawling panoramic villas along the coast. The city's streets were a sensory overload. The powerful, pungent scent of garum, the famous fermented fish sauce exported across the empire, mixed with the fragrance of olive oil, wine, and exotic spices. The walls were a public diary, covered in vibrant frescoes, election campaign slogans, and raunchy graffiti. Its forum teemed with politicians and priestesses conducting rituals in the Grand Temple of Jupiter. Its amphitheater, one of the oldest in the Roman world, roared with the clash of gladiators. Its taverns and brothels were filled with soldiers, sailors, and slaves from every corner of the known world. And watching over it all was Mount Vesuvius. It wasn't seen as a threat. It was a beautiful, green mountain, its slopes covered in lush vineyards that produced some of the finest wine in the empire. For the people of Pompeii, Vesuvius was a symbol of abundance and life, not death. They had no idea it was a monstrous stratovolcano that had violently erupted before and was, after centuries of slumber, about to wake up in the most violent way imaginable. The morning of August 23rd began like any other. In the bakeries, loaves of bread were stamped with their maker's seal and placed in ovens. In the grand villas, slaves prepared the morning meals for their wealthy masters. In the forum, a politician named Holconius Priscus was likely glad to see his name painted on a dozen walls, campaigning for office. But the signs were there, for those willing to see. The frequent, low-grade tremors that morning were stronger than usual, sharp enough to knock a clay pot from a shelf, sparking a brief moment of alarm before being dismissed. Animals, more attuned to the Earth's deep vibrations, were the first to sense the profound wrongness of the world. Sheep and goats in the surrounding pastures became agitated, refusing to graze. Birds, normally filling the air with song, were eerily silent, and many were seen flying away from the mountain in distressed flocks. By midday, a more unsettling sign appeared. The city's fountains, fed by the great Aqua Augusta aqueduct, began to sputter and run dry. The shifting of the ground had severed the channels. This would have caused real concern, as the public fountains and bathhouses were central to Roman daily life. In the air, a faint, sharp smell, like rotten eggs, began to drift from the mountains, pixel for gas, seeping from the restless magma below. People noticed, they talked about it, perhaps blaming it on the nearby Phlegrean fields, another known volcanic area. They rationalized. They found explanations. As evening fell, the tremors grew more violent, no longer ignoble. Horses in their stables screamed with terror, and dogs howled inconsolably. A few families, the cautious or the fearful, began to pack their most valuable possessions into carts. They would have been a strange sight, hurrying through the streets under the scornful, pitying eyes of their neighbors. For the vast majority, the thought of abandoning their homes, their businesses, their entire lives, based on a few strange signs, was unthinkable. They went to sleep that night believing, praying, that the morning would bring another ordinary day. Our understanding of these final hours is not guesswork. It is pieced together from two extraordinary sources: the vivid letters of a survivor and the silent testimony of the city itself. Pliny the Younger, a 17-year-old at the time, watched the horror unfold from the relative safety of Misenum, across the Bay of Naples. In his letters to the historian Tacitus, he described the beginning: a colossal cloud of ash and pumice rising from the mountain, shaped like an umbrella pine, that blotted out the sun and turned the day to night. He wrote of broadsheets of fire lighting up the darkness on the mountain's slopes and of a rain of pumice stones that piled up in the streets. His account also tells a tale of heroism. His uncle Pliny, the Elder, a renowned naturalist and commander of the Roman fleet, saw the unfolding disaster not as a reason to flee, but as a duty to help. He bravely ordered his warships to sail directly towards the danger, attempting to rescue the terrified citizens trapped along the coast. He was suffocated by the toxic gases on the beach at Stabia, a hero who died trying to save others. But the archaeology is what tells the most intimate human stories. We have found the loaves of bread, now carbonized, still sitting in their ovens. We have seen the political graffiti half-finished on a wall. Most poignantly, we have the plaster casts made from the voids left in the hardened ash by the victims' bodies. These casts capture the final, desperate moments of life. A mother shielding her child, lovers locked in a final embrace, a man curled in a futile attempt to protect himself, a dog still chained to its post, writhing in its final moments. These silent figures are the ultimate proof of the tragedy, a testament to a population that realized the full extent of the danger, far, far too late. So why did they stay? Why did so many ignore what now seem like obvious, terrifying warnings? The answer lies deep in their culture and their worldview. The Romans were a practical, resilient people, but they were also deeply superstitious. They attributed natural phenomena to the will of the gods. An earthquake might be Vulcan working in his forge, or the giants stirring beneath the earth. They had no scientific framework to understand plate tectonics or volcanology. The very word volcano did not exist. Vesuvius had been dormant for so long, some estimates say 1,800 years, that it had been completely erased from collective memory as a threat. Furthermore, human psychology played a crucial role. Psychologists call it normalcy bias, the tendency to believe that because something has never happened before, it never will. For a merchant to abandon his shop, a baker his oven, or a wealthy patrician his villa, was to accept financial ruin. It was a choice between a possible and poorly understood danger, and the certain poverty that came with fleeing. It was easier to believe that things would go back to normal than to accept that their entire world was about to be obliterated. Their incredible ingenuity built aqueducts and amphitheaters, but it couldn't save them from a threat they were culturally and psychologically incapable of comprehending. The story of Pompeii is more than a historical tragedy. It is a profound and timeless lesson about humanity's relationship with the natural world and our own capacity for denial. The city, frozen at the height of its vitality, serves as a powerful reminder that life is fragile, and that the world we take for granted can be transformed in an instant. The eerie signs they ignored are a chilling mirror to our own time, reflecting the subtle warnings of climate change, economic instability, or social unrest that we often choose to rationalize away, just as they did. The people of Pompeii were not foolish. They were intelligent, creative, and full of life, just like us. Their greatest failing was simply being human, caught between the instinct to survive and the powerful urge to believe that everything will be all right. They teach us that the greatest danger is not always the sudden catastrophe, but the slow, creeping warning that we convince ourselves. Day after day, is nothing to worry about, until there is no time left to worry at all.